To remember, it's 5 syllables, then 7, then 5. And if you do one about Michonne, you probably might not get it because she's my favorite. No, I'm just kidding. I promise I'll give it whoever does the best haiku. And also, just it's honor system, but you also have to check out twdcollection.com/deadcast to win. And thanks to Walking Dead Collectors Models.
Thanks, Walking Dead Collectors Models.
One more announcement. There we have another new podcast added to the Podcastica network. I'm really excited about this one. I've always loved this podcast, so it's great that they agreed to come aboard. Jessica Rhodes, who co-hosted on our season opener or mid-season opener, she's involved. But if you want to know more, listen to the end section of this podcast at the very end, and I'll tell you about it.
I love Jessica.
Yeah, she's awesome. We recently I got an email from a crew member of Ash vs. Evil Dead sent to our Evil Dead, podcast.
Yeah.
But it made me curious. And he said, please don't tell anyone, who I am, because he didn't want to get in trouble or anything, I guess. I don't know. But it was really cool. And so I'm wondering if anyone who works on Walking Dead listens to this.
If anybody who works on Walking Dead does listen to this, let us know. You can be anonymous.
Yeah, we promise we won't say your name on the air if you don't want us to.
Yes.
So come on, Greg.
Robert Kirkman. It's okay.
Come on, Norman. You can say.
We won't rat you out.
Yeah. Or, anybody on the crew,
Gimple.
anything like that. I'd just be really curious to know that you're listening. So send an email to brains@podcastica.com or brains@walkingdeadcast.com. That one still works too. And we have a huge episode this week. As you might have noticed in the title, we're talking with Tom Paine, who also is known as Jesus in this episode. April
Fabulous.
Fools.
Not April
Tom
Fools.
Paine.
It's March, and you did talk to him. You can't fool me.
I told you. That's what I told you. Just kidding. No April Fools.
You're fooling about the fooling?
I really did talk. Yeah, it's double April Fools. And it was great. He was amazing. It's a little bit hard to hear him. I think he's in England, and the connection wasn't as good as I would like it to be, but I think you'll get the picture. And he talked for a long time and really interesting, fascinating, and just a great guy. So why don't we just get right into that? And after that, we'll come back and do our Deadcast Top 5. But for now, here's Tom Paine. Tom.
Hi, Jason.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing very well.
Good. Do you know what this is?
I think so. It's just a podcast, right?
That's right, yeah. So we do a podcast called Walking Deadcast. We've been around for the full 6 years, and I'm actually recording right now, and we're going to put it out probably tomorrow. So first off, I just want to thank you so much for coming on. We've really been loving what you've been doing on the show so far, even in the short time, and our listeners have been sending in lots of comments, and we think you've been knocking it out of the park. So thanks a lot for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy about that.
Good.
I really am. It was a big stress waiting to see what the fans thought about the whole interpretation and how he came into the storyline and everything. So I'm super happy that everything worked out well.
Are you getting a pretty good impression? Do you have a channel where you can get feedback about how it's being received?
Well, I actually went to my first convention a week or two ago, and that was my first real understanding of how it's gone down with the fan community. Obviously, I met hundreds of people face to face, and it was just so lovely to hear people's comments and to see how much they love the character. I mean, obviously, it's not really me. It's the character, and they all seem to really, really enjoy it. And one of the best things I think for the character coming into the show is that it's just he adds a whole different dynamic to the whole thing, and I think that's he freshens different aspects of the storyline up a bit, and I think people are really receptive to that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I think is really cool about the character is he came in and starred in an episode right off the bat with the two most popular characters and totally held his own, and yes, kind of changed that dynamic. So what was it like for you? Like, when did you find out that you were going to be in an episode with Rick and Daryl right off the bat, and how was it to find that out?
How did I find that out? Well, I guess when I got the script, just a few days before, Honestly, it was such a whirlwind coming in. There were so many different things. I'm in this hotel room in Peachtree City where we're filming, just pacing up and down, going, okay, what do I start to think about first? Because there was lots of different aspects of the character, obviously from the comic books, or and trying to fit in with the TV show, and then also like at the time I had the facial hair and all that stuff to worry about. So when I was actually on set working with Andy and Norman, there were so many things to think about that there wasn't really any time to be like really thinking, oh, I'm meeting these two guys and this is happening. It was only really months later when I watched the show that I realized quite how cleverly he had been inserted into the narrative, and quite how genius stepped into this, really, and the writers in how they orchestrated the whole thing.
Yeah.
But when I was actually doing it, I was just trying not to get fired the whole time. I was like, okay, I've got to make sure that this works, and I'm doing what they want me to do. And obviously, you have a certain sense of how it should be and stuff, but it was such a condensed period of time in which to make things happen that I just had to really go by instinct a lot of the time. But looking back at it and watching the show now, it's really clever how they did that, and how they introduced that character. There are things that they did, not just not even in the way that he says things or what he does. It's more about, in that scene, it wasn't about what he did and what he didn't do. Like, he didn't kill them straight away.
Yeah.
He wasn't fighting them to hurt them. Actually, he was just trying to get away. And all of these things that he did show his character a lot, actually, in a very short amount of time. It's very clever what they did with that.
Do you think that's why Rick and Daryl didn't kill him straight off the bat, because they just picked up on those little cues about how he was behaving?
Yeah, I think so. I said before, I think in this world, if someone doesn't kill you straight away, then there's something else going on there.
Yeah.
And they were in a desperate situation. They need actually to meet new people and find new communities and new situations to help them help themselves out. So the island very well put together, and Rick definitely, he says in the scene, there's something more to this. And I think it's interesting that the character is like kind of running away with the truck, but then once he sees their tenacity in running after him, he's like, okay, there's something else to these guys. They're very strong characters, and they need to work out where they're from. So then he gets on the truck and tries to figure that out for himself as well.
Rick lately has been so erratic and quick to kill, and it surprised me that he didn't kill Jesus right away. I'm glad he didn't, but I wonder if you think maybe one reason why Jesus decides to look like Jesus is because people might not be even subconsciously so quick to kill somebody who looks like Jesus.
That's really interesting. I hadn't thought that, actually. Possibly, and that might be something in his game plan. It's definitely a striking look. I mean, I think the costume fundamentally is the costume, his clothes as he wears, are fundamentally about the environment that he lives in. And this is a guy that fights walkers hand to hand, actually. And if you notice, and I certainly did, because it's incredibly hot in Atlanta, there's no part of his body that isn't covered. And when I first meet them, all you see is my eyes. And I think it's for reasons of protection as much as anything else. But the beard and the hair is a separate thing, and I think, I don't know. If he's purposely cultivated himself, maybe he had the nickname even before.
Yeah.
And he thought, I'm gonna fit in with that even more.
I think he did say something about his friends used to call him that.
Like I used to call him Jesus, which of course is a lie, because he still, he was still being cagey at that point when he said, my friends used to call me. Everything that he did in that instance was very well thought out, I think. He intentionally bumped in to steal the keys.
Yeah, of course.
And then he dug his information out there, and he's a wily character.
Was there any part of you that had any hesitation about going on probably the most popular show and looking like Jesus?
I obviously that's been brought up to me a few times, and I'm not religious myself,
Me
and
neither.
and I come in England is not super religious anymore, actually, and my girlfriend is Swedish and they're not religious there, so it doesn't really affect my life much. But of course, in America, it's definitely there.
Right.
But I think, I think we live in a world now where people can be certainly understanding of some people having the same name as someone else, or even a nickname. And people do make up nicknames for their friends, and I'm sure lots of people have a friend who they've nicknamed Jesus. And in that respect, and by the way, he's not a horrible, awful character.
Right.
He's nicknamed Jesus because of his positives about his character, and obviously his look, but also because he is actually a very nice, benevolent character, which was very interesting for me when I first came into the show and the audience first met me. Everyone couldn't work out if I was good or bad.
Right.
I thought it was really interesting. I wasn't really expecting that. I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I guess you can't work it out. And these people have been burnt so many times. All the fans are like, well, we're never going to let anyone in too quickly. And I wasn't really expecting that. So I was just like, oh, wait and see. He's a nice guy.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I loved it. It was unexpected. But, when I met everyone at the con a couple of weeks ago, a lot of people came up and were like, well, we weren't sure whether we were going to like you or not. But then that's turned into, we really love the guy and he's great. But he definitely had to prove himself to the fans at the same time as proving himself to the group in the show, which I thought was quite an interesting parallel, actually.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some fans who are a little scared of him, and I think you've seen the whole show, right? Have you seen all the episodes?
Up until now.
Okay, so with Gareth, after Gareth, you can't really be sure. You can't. It takes a lot to trust anybody.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so you mentioned that it was a whirlwind, and I read that you got the part and then you were out there a week later. And so I wonder if maybe that was actually a blessing, that you didn't have a lot of time to think about all of this stuff too much.
In retrospect, yes, I agree with you. I think that, that was a big benefit in the end, actually. It was on Friday, I was in London, and when I got the call, and it was not, we didn't even know what the part was at that point. We knew that I would be coming in and doing some work on the show, and I was like, oh, that would be fun, I'll go do some of that would be great. And then my agent's calling me to say, oh, they're offering you this part, and by the way, we think it's this guy. Like, we think, we didn't see things.
Right.
So like, all these calls are going back and forth, and they're offering you this part, and we think it's this guy. So then they're sending me, and we think it's this guy called Jesus. And I was like, oh, okay. And then, obviously, I looked, but I was so overwhelmed. It was like midnight in London, and I was at a friend's gig. It's like, oh, okay. And I wasn't allowed to say anything. I walked into my friend, and I was like, I've just got this huge job in America. I can't tell you what it is, and I have to leave within the next 24 hours. It was really insane. And yes, I think it's definitely a benefit that I didn't know at that point.
Yeah.
And also, actually, there was no way that I could have read all the comic books and caught up on the show in time. Even after I finished filming, I did go through all the comic books and go through the show. The comic books took me a day, but the show I found really hard to binge watch.
Oh,
actually.
Heck yeah.
Certain episodes you can, but actually you need that week in between.
Yeah.
And it took me months actually to watch all of the show, because you can't just race through it. So I think if I'd have tried, even attempted to do that while we were shooting, it would have screwed with my head too much. And also, the show when it started is completely different to the show as it is now.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched. I stopped watching in season 5 when they met Aaron.
Yes.
I didn't want to get to Alexandria, actually, as far as my character goes. So I stopped at that point. But I watched everything up until then. And then actually, it's quite nice for me to have the comic books, have it right next to me now, actually. So I can see, if I get to do half the stuff that Jesus does in the comic books, I'm going to be super happy.
Yes. Jesus is so great in the comic. What was it like for you to read about him?
Oh, amazing. I mean, and also the comic books, there's like a time jump as well. And he has a whole change in costume and then
samurai
sword and a horse. I'm like, yes. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And if we get to that point, that will be, a ways on. But I know that they're very structured about it, and they respect the comic books hugely. And obviously, Kirkman was involved heavily in the show.
Yeah. And
I know there was one point where a costume was like, well, maybe can we try this costume, which is the later costume, and Scott was like, no, we're not we're not there. It's important that he's in this costume. They're really, really high on detail in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
But reading the comic books, I really enjoy how he does integrate into the group, and he is a really beneficial addition to the dynamic. And as far as the Negan storyline in the comic books, he's a real integral part of helping the group with all of the storylines going forward. And if the next season follows the comic books, then there's a lot more exciting stuff to come for the audience and for me. So fingers crossed we'll go that way.
So I'd like to ask you some specific questions about your episodes. The first one that you were on, I think, was different than most Walking Dead episodes. It seemed like they wanted to do a lighter episode, and I think it was as close to a comedy as anything they've done. And I wonder if while you were filming, was that a part of the direction where they're like, okay, we're trying something different here?
Well, I think, so as I said, I hadn't been watching the show up to that point, but I was definitely aware that this was a lighter tone. Just from the way that Norman and Andy were approaching it as well. Like they definitely were having fun with what they were doing. There was a whole Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid vibe to the whole thing. It's quite tough to be running around a field in the middle of Atlanta with Norman Reedus running around after you, and not realise that this is kind of comedic. and then I get knocked out by the door of the truck.
Yeah.
And then we had the whole duck moment. I mean, there's a lot of, this is very obviously lighter and a little bit, and the character as well, that was what's so great. Like, he's a little bit mischievous and wily, and so that, it had that kind of vibe to it. But as I said before, I was playing catch up a little bit and just trying to do my best. But I enjoy the fact that they use that, because after the very heavy events of the couple of episodes before, it was a very nice pressure release, I think, to have that lighter episode to shift tone. And I'm so grateful that was the introduction of my character. That was one of the best introductions I could have had, and I'm very grateful for that.
You mean tone? You like that your introduction was with a lighter tone?
Yeah, and just a totally different energy for the show.
Yeah.
Because like you said, I think that's the lightest, and even Nicotero was telling me before, he's like, and Gimple said, I think that's the funniest episode we've ever done. I was like, oh, interesting. And I was wondering how the fans would take to that, actually, and everyone seemed to really enjoy it. So, yeah, it seems to go down well.
We did too. I thought it worked really well. You wouldn't think it necessarily would, but it did. The only thing is, anytime anything happy is happening on the show, you know that there's some really dark stuff coming up, probably.
Yeah. Right. So you had all the bad stuff in the episode before.
Yeah.
So I think they could let them off for at least one.
Yeah, that's nice. Did you see the whole Benny Hill thing?
Yeah, man, I reposted it on Twitter. It was hilarious. It happened because I go on Reddit a lot as well, and someone had posted it like straight away because a lot of people had been talking about it, and it got posted pretty quickly. And someone knocked it up, so yeah, I thought it was hilarious. So I put it on my Twitter, and everyone went crazy. And I'm loving the meeting the fans online and posting memes and all that kind of stuff. I'm a bit of a geek myself.
Oh, nice.
And I like that people have fun with the show.
Yeah.
Because it makes, the whole Walking Dead family thing is a real thing. Like, everyone does feel included in the show and the story, and I think that's a huge part of what makes the show as successful as it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so great. I actually got to go be a zombie in season 2 on Herschel's farm.
Oh, nice.
It was so much fun, and I wish I could be out there again. It's really cool.
Oh, really? I feel sorry for the walkers a lot of times because they're wearing all this stuff in the heat in Atlanta. Oh, God. It's tough. But obviously, it's so amazing too. Did you get shot?
I did, by Herschel, right in the forehead.
Oh, awesome.
It was an honor.
Right.
Yeah, it was freezing cold, actually. It was the middle of the night, so when the barn lit on fire, we were all happy. All right, so let's see. What about the scene with Rick and Michonne in bed? Why doesn't Jesus like to knock on doors?
Well, I think at that point, Jesus? I think at that point, when he goes to see Rick and then Michonne happens to be there, I think he's been everywhere. You know, he's looked in every house and he's checked out the arsenal and everything. And you know, he says to Maggie, he says the exact number of people that there are in
Right.
Alexandria, like he knows. And Maggie's like, oh no, there's more than that. And he's like, sure, I know how many people there are here. Like he's the scout for the hilltop.
Yeah.
He's very quiet and very good at his job. And like I said, like he met Val and Rick on the road, and he didn't need to introduce himself to them. He could have been watching them for ages, you know. And in the comic book, there's an iconic. He's looking through his binoculars at Alexandria and checking it out. Like maybe he's seen Alexandria a few weeks before, and it's been on his list of places to check out more. And then he ends up going back there. He totally like worked his way in with Rick and Daryl, and I don't think he's still unconscious in the back of the car. He's in control that whole time. I think that's great. They're actually taking me into their community. This is amazing. So then in the night time, he just checks everything out, and then he's decided that he wants to talk to Rick and set up a trade deal. But I don't know why he doesn't. He doesn't want people to know he's there until he's comfortable with it.
Till he's ready with it. Do you have a sense of how he got so skilled and such a good fighter and everything?
I think he had a pretty Scott and I have spoken about a fair amount, and hopefully we'll get to explore it at some point.
Yeah, maybe you don't want to talk about the backstory too much, but I'm just curious if you know it.
I think we will share a bit of that. And
cool.
Yeah, like everyone in the show, I loved that standalone episode with Morgan. I thought it was fantastic.
Yes.
That was really great, and it really showed you, every time you see a scene with Morgan now, it has more weight to it. And actually, last night, in the last episode, when Morgan left Rick, I was like, oh, wow, when's Morgan coming back? Or is that it? We're never going to see him again? Like, that was really interesting, and you know that he'll go off and have another event. And I love that. That's amazing. Like, every episode now, which if he's not in the next one, or if he's not, he'll still underline everything, because you'll still be thinking, wow, Morgan's out there doing something. Like Carol, Carol is out there doing. All of these characters have these really dense, amazing narratives, and that also serves every other character that comes in. And you would think, well, Jesus had a life before the hilltop, and I wonder what that was. And I love that they can do that and have a show outside of the show as well.
Until you die.
Yeah.
Whose side are you, Tom Payne? Are you on Morgan or Rick more?
I think that they're a very interesting dynamic, because they're both two sides of the same coin, and one of them's gone almost too far one way, the other one's gone almost too far the other way. So it's quite tough to do it, because it's a really black and white choice.
Right.
I think it really is. Actually, in life, it's a black and white choice as well. But I think Rick has softened a bit now. In the episode that I came in, he started to soften a bit. And unfortunately, I think this whole Negan thing was going to make things worse again. But actually, that storyline, as it plays out in the comic books, I don't know, that's a very interesting relationship that develops there. But it's interesting that if Morgan has gone from the end of this episode, I was wondering how he would be with the Saviors and all that stuff, and maybe he won't be, I don't know. But I'm not sure if Morgan's absolute way of thinking will work or would work with the Saviors, because they're pretty ruthless.
Yeah.
And they don't really care. And I think they might just shoot him. It's like, in this world that we live in, yes, we can be like that. And only if you're okay with dying. I think that's what it is. If you're okay and you know that at that moment just before you leave this earth, that it's enough for you to have lived your life in that way, then that's fine. But I think we have to absolutely have zero fear of moving on, because anyone in this world can just kill you straight off, and they will. And so I think that's a personal choice for him. And so for me, I would like to think I could be like that, but actually, if it comes down to it, then you have to be protecting yourself and looking after yourself. I mean, in a similar way to what Carol did last night.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, okay, I'm going to have to kill you all.
Right.
And she did, and I think that's the point that we're at now. I just think Rick killing that, like, when he arrived at that, the carnage of the guy's shot, and that he made sure he killed that guy on the ground, and the way that he did it, I was like, wow, it's so brutal now. The whole thing is really, really racked up the violence and the tension, and and we had that whole in my third episode when we went to the Savior's compound, and Glenn and Heath, were killing people for the first time, and the weight of that. And actually, in that episode, when I shot the Savior to save him, I had the conversation with Scott. I was like, so is this the first time? Because that was obviously in that episode, like, there was a question of Glenn and Heath, this was their first time. So I was like, well, is this the first time Jesus has shot a human being in that?
Right.
And we decided that it probably wasn't. But that would, obviously that's stuff that's going to come out about his character and what he's done in the past. But that's a real question in the world of who can and who can't, who will and who won't. And I think now to survive, you have to, actually.
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes, right, there are probably some situations where you need to decide, but if someone is ready to kill you, then you're going to have to kill them. Yeah. And since Jesus is a scout and he's out and he's kicking ass all the time, I'm sure he's come across some situations where he had to.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think he would rather not. I think he's come to terms with the world. And it's unfortunately, it's will be killed. But what's interesting is, so then they came back, and that whole scuffle happens at the hilltop. And he says to Rick, things like that don't usually happen here. I think at the hilltop, a lot of those people are similar to the Alexandrians, in that actually they're in their place and they don't go out that much, and they don't encounter much bloodshed. And so that's why when the Saviors came and killed this teenage boy, it was such a huge deal. And probably the whole community said to Gregory, just give them whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Jesus, when he meets Rick and Daryl, I really think he's looking for people to help. He's thinking about that situation the whole time, and he wants to change it, but he knows he can't do it with the hilltop people. So I think he's always got his eye on who can help us out in that situation. It just happened that Ethan came back and stabbed Gregory, and everything got sped up 100%. But actually, I think he was always headed for that conversation. But it just happened like within a few hours of him bringing them back, things that escalated very quickly. But I do think it was on his list, and that's why he wanted to. Because Hilltop is pretty self-sufficient, and they did just need muscle power. Like he said it pretty much. So yeah, I think the violence of the world, Jesus is very much comes to terms with, and saw the Savior's situation as something that was untenable and needed to change.
Mm-hmm. How come Jesus doesn't train some of those people?
It's an interesting question. Well, I've learned in my in my training that it takes a long time to really get there to be skillful at martial arts, and it's a real undertaking actually. And that's quite a good question. I don't think. Yeah, that is a good question.
It's okay. I was just curious. Yeah, you train. I mean, you look great fighting on there. So you had a lot of training, huh? You didn't already know how to fight?
I trained, yeah. For that fight that we had in the show, like I was drilled on that quite a lot. And then since I finished, I got interested in it, and I'm like, okay, I want to do it on my own now and train. And it's been great. I think it's really valuable to learn to do anything with any kind of precision. It's a great way of focusing energy and focusing intent. And I think in that world, certainly I think Jesus, when you get into a point where you can drill something, so you can like just drill punches or you can drill kicks and stuff, it's a very good way of focusing your mind. And I think he probably uses that quite a lot in his life.
He seems very focused for sure.
He's very focused, so yeah.
We're totally at time, but I have a few, just like 3 questions from listeners. Are you okay with that? Okay. Quick ones? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. So listener Lucy Hinney says, which performances or characters from all other media have inspired your take on Jesus?
That's an interesting question. I was going to say I just have some reference to it, but I can't remember any of them now. Well, first of all, like I don't, acting is a funny thing because you do tend to sometimes go, oh, I like that part, how he did that, or I like to work in a very open way and go for the heart and soul of the character and how he approaches different situations. And what I enjoyed about this character in the show is that he is a really tough character, but he is still. I keep using the word light, and I don't want to do that because it kind of takes a bit of his power away, because he is a very strong character.
Mm-hmm.
But the way in which he approaches people with a slight smile and listen, I'm not a bad guy, and this is going to work out, and let's just cut to the chase. I think that's a lot of it as well. He's just like, let's get over any of this posturing and male rubbish. Like, I know I can kick your ass. I know I'm going to let you. He's just like, if you really want to get into it, we'll get into it. But like, you don't want to get there.
Yeah.
I like the way that he approached Rickendale with that. There's a moment just before we get to the hilltop where I say, I'm letting you keep your guns. And Daryl, it's actually Norman was like, what do you mean you're letting us keep our guns? And I was just like, in my head, because I didn't want to talk to any of the other actors, but I'm like, as my character in that moment, I'm thinking I could take Rick's gun off him right now and shoot you. Like, it's just that's the character. He has that power. But the other characters haven't seen it yet, actually.
Yeah.
You haven't, and the audience hasn't seen quite how strong Jesus is yet. And I like having that strength of character is really useful as an actor, because in every scene you can see, there is something more there, and there's some strength there that he hasn't given away his cards yet. And even when he was like fighting with them and everything, he was just trying to get away. He wasn't doing anything fancy or crazy to hurt them. And I like that there is a held back aspect.
Yeah.
And so with the characterization, everything is behind the eyes. And he has a confident stance, and it seems as though he doesn't care, and he seems like he's a light, funny character. But in a second, he can be strong and tough, and he can react to any situation. And like I said, I'm excited. If the comic books are anything to go by, and the show goes that way as well, you'll see a lot more of that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's so awesome. You didn't want to tell Norman Reedus that?
No. Well, it's also because I didn't want to, because I knew that Norman would be like, what do you mean? Because also, like, Norman and Daryl is like, he's the tough guy in the group.
Yeah.
Until Jesus has that moment where he shows everyone what he really is capable of, it's good that no one knows, actually.
Right. That's so cool.
I think, and I don't think many of the this might be totally false, but I don't know how many of the other actors read the comic books, actually. Because I think they don't want to know a lot of stuff. Yeah. They don't want to know where it's going.
I think a lot of them have read up to a certain point, but they stopped.
Right, exactly. Whereas I'm completely screwed now because I've read all of them and I have to wait a month in between each one.
I know, me too.
It's so annoying. But no, I didn't want to, obviously I didn't want to be like, listen, dude, my character is badass. I don't take names with people. I just like, okay, this is my character, and I know more about him than anyone else.
Nice.
And I can't wait to show everyone. But it's going to be so awesome if it happens. Like, the audience, a lot of the audience who read the comics and stuff will be waiting for that moment as well.
Heck yeah.
And it'll be great to get to show it.
Okay, Michael Darwin says, what's it like coming into the show, making friends, forming relationships, yet knowing Jesus is almost certainly going to die at some point, probably right after we get very attached to him?
Oh. Well, it's funny because I joined, and one of the first things that happened, even before I went on set, was I went to one of these guest dinners, which was held at Mewtwo's house, and Andy threw it, and all the actors were there, and then the actors who had left this season in episode 9. And it's all like round a campfire, and everyone tells stories of how they first met, the actors, and then they tell their stories. And it was like Josh McDermott and Stephen Yeun both came up to me like, picture of the show, man. This is what it's like. And I was like, wow, this is like a self-help group. What's going on? It's unlike any show I've ever been on. There is a real sense of family and warmth, and
Nice.
we're all in it together. And it was so lovely. But I've never experienced that before. So to come on to a show which already has that, I mean, it's going to be, so this is the 6th year.
Yes.
And it's been announced that it's going to be a 7th year. So it's going on and on and on. And it's amazing to have kept that. Because I'm sure there are people on shows where they're kind of like, I'm really doing this for the money now. And just kind of, I'm sick of it. But you don't get the feeling on Walking Dead of that at all. Everyone loves doing it, loves being involved with the fan community, and is excited to see where the story goes all the time. So I understand more now. Because the people who left were like really upset that they were leaving. Wow, because I've been acting for a long time now, and I'm like, you do a job and then you move on, and it's the nature of the work that everything is fleeting. Because you're a huge movie, you do it for a few months, and then that's it, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
It's not often that you have an opportunity to really stick with a bunch of people. I mean, unless you're on like a soap opera or something,
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes part of your life in the same way that this show has. So I didn't really understand it when I first went to the death dinner, and then now I do have a much more of an understanding of it, because it's also outside of the show, because you do all of the promotional materials and stuff together, and then you might go to conventions together, and so these people are always in your life, and as the fans are as well. And actually, as far as being killed on the show goes, if that happens, I will still be part of the Walking Dead family even now, which is so lovely. Like, I was at this convention last week with John Bernthal, and like, he died in season 2, and still sees the group and comes out to the convention. And he was at the premiere. They had the Madison Square Garden premiere last year, and he came out on stage. And so it is upsetting. It would be upsetting if I died, because I love my job, and this is one of the best jobs I've ever had on this show with this character. So I would be sad to lose the character, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm part of the Walking Dead family forever now, which is something I've really realised these last few months, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to have people shouting Jesus at me in the streets for the rest of my life.
Great. Well, I'm actually going to be moderating your panel with James at Walker Stalker Con in Nashville, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, great.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Now, a couple more. So Gemma Hall says, tell him I said he's hot. And Stephanie Harris says, how did you get so gorgeous?
I got it from my mama.
Oh, that's nice. And then finally, John Hauser says, who would win in a kung fu fighting match, Jesus or Morgan?
Ooh, it's interesting. Interesting. Because I've trained with the same guy that trained Lenny as well. And we spoke about that, yeah. Well, we didn't actually match them up. But I think Jesus.
I do too, actually, yeah.
I think he has a lot more, because I think first of all, I think he's been training a lot longer.
Yeah.
And secondly, he has a lot more aspects to what he does. And he would be just as comfortable with the stick and with the bow as Morgan. But he chooses not to use it because it's quite a cumbersome thing to have.
Mm.
I think the way his style of, I don't want to give away too much, but
right.
he was also quite quick in a fight, because in this world as well, like we said before, you kill before you're killed, and he's always assessing every situation and is ready to go in there and get it done as quickly as possible.
Nice.
But he wouldn't want to fight. I think there wouldn't be a fight with Lenny and Jesus, because actually, as much as Jesus would kill someone if he had to, he doesn't want to have a fight unless it's absolutely necessary. So I think they would be like, yeah, let's not fight. That's kind of pointless, isn't it? Why would we fight?
Nice.
Let's not do that. But they would make a great team. It's like they're half of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Hopefully they'll get a chance to.
They just need 2 more.
All right, and then the very last thing, we always ask every guest to make a zombie sound.
Okay. Right now?
Yeah, go ahead. Nice. Sweet. Thanks, man. That was a real pleasure to talk to you. I appreciate it. It's great.
Thanks, Jason.
All
Great.
right, and I'll see you in Nashville.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I'll see you then.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, we're back. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And it's time to talk about our first sponsor. That's Fracture. Who doesn't know about Fracture? I mean, maybe somebody who's just started listening to us. If you just started listening to us, welcome. And let me tell you about Fracture. So they print your photos in really bright, vivid color directly on glass. So it's a picture frame and a mount all in one. And they're really beautiful. And by the way, people, there's only 2 days left in their spring promotion. So if you go to fractureme.com and use the coupon code SPRING at checkout, you get 20% off. And that's through March. So if you're listening to this before the end of March, you can take advantage of that. If not, you can still use our ZHEAD code and get 10% off. But if you are within that window, it's a great time for everyone who's been thinking about checking these out but hasn't gotten around to it to go get your Mother's Day present ordered early. So you don't have to worry about it.
Or Father's Day.
Or Father's Day, and maybe even pick up one for yourself while you're at it. So yeah, this is like a pane of glass with your photo printed on it. It's easy to order. You just go to fractureme.com and upload your photo and choose a size. That's about it. I haven't ordered one in a long time, but I finally ordered a couple new ones recently. I did 3 little ones. I sent it to you today.
And they are so crazy cute. They've really made me give up on I will never be able to achieve the amount of cuteness that are contained in these pictures. They're just
pictures of my face. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Each one of these has Nico's part of the picture. Yeah. And especially that top one when he's in the snow and he's smiling and his entire face is smiling. It is so cute.
I like, because especially with kids, you can capture their spirit and they're so authentic and they have this genuine emotion going on and it's still cute,
Yeah.
So all 3 of these have him and he's happy. And anyway.
Oh, they're so sweet. I can't wait to see him.
Yeah, and these, I love these pictures, and so I'm excited to be able to have them kind of memorialized, and I can put them up on the wall, and it'll just spruce up the place, and they won't be hidden away on my phone.
They're not going to go to Grandma for Mother's Day?
No, I wanted to get some for myself for once. So let's see. I found out also while I was doing this that you can upload directly from your Facebook or Instagram too. So it makes it really easy to get photos up there. Again, the spring promotion through March is 20% off if you use code SPRING at checkout, or if you're past March, you can use ZHEAD for 10% off at fractureme.com. And thanks so much to Fracture as usual for your support.
Thanks, Fracture.
Attention shoppers, Deadcast Top 5 in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Okay, it's Deadcast Top 5. This time it's our top 5 highlights for Season 6, Episode 15, the second to last episode of the season. It's called East. What do you think?
Well, overall, this episode had a lot of the things that I loved, especially there's a music montage, and I'm a sucker for a music montage. And I loved the incident with Carol and the Saviors. I thought that was brilliant. But also it had a couple of batshit crazy stuff too. It was I think it was
some dubious decisions.
Which kind of colors my reaction to the episode a little. But my first reaction was I was like, yeah. But then later on, I was like, but wait, okay, now calm down. Let's start thinking these things through.
Oh, that's where you went wrong. Yeah. So, what can you guess what my favorite scene was?
The shower scene with Maggie.
It was, but not just because of being a pervert.
No, I know why.
Why?
because it was very sweet. Because it turned, at first they're all playful with each other.
Yeah.
And then she turns around and he sees the bruises on her. And it gets very, very sad and poignant. And
then he started whispering in her ear and she relaxed into him and it was intimate. And, it really was such a successful scene to show two people in love.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad we can't hear what Glenn's telling her.
Yeah, he's like, I have the worst case of diarrhea right now.
Yeah, I'm sure that.
She's like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I think
I just totally ruined this, but
you totally
forget I said that. No, I love the scene, and it was very touching, and it was sexy too. It did a lot of things in a really short period of time, but anyway, it was good.
It was a lovely scene. You're absolutely right. Was that your number one?
Sort of. Can I go first?
Do it, man.
It's a lot of happiness going on, which feels like bad omens. That's my number 5. That's what happened, early on in the episode. We had Carol and Tobin kissing. Mm-hmm. We had that shower scene with Glenn and Maggie. Yep. We had the moment with Abraham and Sasha making eyes at each other. Even though Sasha still looks kind of horrified, although it was probably mostly because Rosita was like 2 feet away.
Yeah, it's hard to get away. Hard to be completely happy when your your boyfriend's ex-girlfriend's giving you
the stink eye.
Some shade. Yeah.
Then we had Michonne and Rick in bed, which I still find a little creepy, but I think it's weird because I totally wanted that relationship to happen, and now that it's happening, it feels just like when two of your longtime friends unexpectedly get together.
Yeah.
But I'm still for it, but I maybe just don't want to see it. I don't know.
You know what? I think it would be weird to see either of them in bed with anybody. Because I think I was thinking about that. Because, I was like, I felt this way the first time we saw them together. And I felt a little bit like I was invading their privacy.
Yeah.
Because I don't think of either of them as being happy in bed. I think of both of them as, stabbing guys in the head.
This one was better, though, I thought, than that first scene.
Because they were eating the apple of knowledge?
Well, and it just, maybe I'm just getting used to them, or it just wasn't so... I don't know, pornographic. But I don't know. I don't need to go on about it. But anyway, it's good. It's good to see them happy, although we always know that happy means impending doom on the show. So that's kind of my point with this whole number 5.
Yes, exactly. Although this is actually my number 5 too, and it was the music montage with Johnny Cash's song.
Oh, nice, yeah.
It's All Over. And I love at least I think that was Johnny Cash. It sounded like Johnny Cash.
Yeah, I think so too, yeah.
I didn't actually confirm it. And I just loved him. I thought the song fit beautifully. And I love the shots of Carol and Tobin. And I love the fact that Tobin's talking and it was like, wah, 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 wah.
Denise was a wah, wah, wah. She's like nodding.
Yeah. Sometimes, every once in a while, I have to admit I do that to David.
Yeah.
Wah, 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 wah.
It's hard to be focused all the time.
All the time. I hope he doesn't. You know what? I'm pretty sure he doesn't listen to the episodes anymore. So he's not going to hear this. Thank God.
He knows.
Oh, and I also liked Carl with...
What would be ironic is he probably does listen, but he just didn't hear that because he wasn't really listening.
Oh, he does it to me all the time.
He does.
Yes. Oh, all the time. I'll be talking to him and his eyes will glaze over.
He's like, I'm packing a bag tonight.
That's exactly right. You missed one couple, by the way, in this music montage. Carl and the gun.
What do you think was on that gun? Could you make it out?
I could, and I feel very proud of myself that I knew what was on the gun. Nobody had to tell me what was on the gun. I froze the screen because I really wanted to see if that was a name, and then I saw that it looked like kind of a bat with
barbed wire wrapped
barbed
around
wire.
It.
Yeah, and I thought, I bet that's some sort of allusion to the stupid Negan's group.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot more weapons that they took from the armory of that compound.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, cool. So my number 4 is that it was almost ridiculous how Rick's new plan is to wait until the saviors come for them, right? So the plan is, let's, instead of going out and getting into trouble, let's just fortify this whole place, put up more watchtowers, and then get everybody ready so that when they come, we can be ready. Oh, but let's all just leave, though. Let's take all of our most able people, Carol, Daryl, Rick, Morgan, Michonne, and Glenn, and just disperse to the winds.
And Rosita. 7.
Yeah,
All 7.
yeah. I guess she's pretty. Yeah, you're right. She's pretty capable. You're right.
Yeah, she's capable,
she
and
totally
she's
is. You're
angry.
Right. And she's angry. Yeah. So Rosita too. I mean, they left Abraham and Carl and Maggie. So those are 3 capable people. Spencer, I don't know, Olivia. But I couldn't think of anybody else who left. Anyways, Judith. I just thought, I think on some level these situations are supposed to make us feel like, oh God, what a horrible situation they're in. But more often for me, it's like, how dumb.
Yes, exactly. That was, man, I don't understand why the writers had them all take off, all one after the other. Oh, let's follow this group. Okay, so back when I was a hazmat technician briefly, I remember in one of our OSHA trainings, the instructor was talking about this famous incident where somebody was in a trench and they were supposed to wear the proper protective gear and they didn't with the right kind of mask on. And so a guy goes down into the trench, passes out, and is at the bottom of the trench, or maybe it was a giant container, I think. And then so somebody sees him and they're like, oh, I'll go after him. And goes after him, passes out, and is at the bottom. Now there's 2 guys at the bottom of this thing. A third guy was like, oh my God, I better go get him. Anyway, there's a pileup happening where one after the other, they, in the bad idea pantheon, this probably takes the cake. And it kind of reminded me of that. Somebody leaves and then, really? You have to send 3 people after them? Let Daryl go. Let Carol go.
Yeah, they can...
Oh my God.
They could take care of themselves, or...
Yes. Does nobody talk? And also, if Daryl really had to go, hey, how about passing this idea past your comrades first, who are kind of depending upon you?
The point is, Daryl just felt so compelled because he was sitting there fingering that Dennis name tag, and he just felt so guilty. He feels like he got Denise killed by not taking care of Dwight when he had the chance. And so I can see, all right, fine. He can't stop himself. But the people who are thinking a little more clearly, I mean, I could see maybe, all right, we're going to go after Daryl. But then Carol left too. It's like, well, it might be smart just to maybe send some people after Daryl first. And then when they come back, we'll go for Carol. Even though we might lose her trail, at least we'll still be more protected back here.
Yes.
That kind of weighs a little more prominently when you've got your little baby Judith and your son here.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. We're being nitpicky, and they have to get into these situations to make it exciting. But it seems like episode after episode, something like this comes up where it's like Department of Suspension of Disbelief.
Exactly. My new first rule of the zombie apocalypse is communicate, people. That's my first. I just don't get that. By the way, you know what I thought? Because evidently I wasn't paying close enough attention until later. What I thought was that Daryl was going after the Dwight group because he was going to follow them back. See, I thought the Dwight group would have gone back to the sanctuary, and so what I thought he was, because didn't Dwight get his balls chomped on by Eugene? Didn't Eugene bite on his junk? And it seems like that was a pretty significant bite. So he'd have to go back to the infirmary or wherever. And so what I thought Daryl was doing is, I thought, oh, that's what he's doing. He's doing a little spying, a little reconnaissance. No, he wasn't. He was going to, by himself, take on 5 or 6 of those savior guys, which is a terrible, terrible idea.
Again, though, Daryl's portrayed as a passionate, shoot from the hip kind of guy, so I can see why he would do that. Well, I remember the very first scene I ever saw with Daryl was when he found out that they left Merle back in Atlanta, and he was pissed and trying to beat everybody up and stuff. So.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So anyway, I just wanted to mention Levi Hanush. You're probably grimacing when I just mentioned Department of Suspension and Disbelief, but he wrote a great email about all that, how our Department of Suspension and Disbelief. So if you're curious about that, listen to the listener feedback section later.
Ha! That's funny.
So is it my turn or your turn?
It is your turn, my friend.
Okay. So this is my big one. To kill or not to kill. This is the theme this episode. It's been a conversation that's been going on this show back pretty much since the beginning, but I feel like it was more explicitly stated in this episode than maybe ever, or at least in a long time, especially the conversation between Morgan and Rick, which makes me have a little hope that this whole conversation is going to be coming to a head at some point soon. Because I'm kind of, I mean, I can understand why it would keep coming up, but for a show, it feels like it would be nice to move on to some new themes.
Other topics?
I mean, they have other topics, of course, but just the same thing. Should you kill as soon as you think something is a threat, or should you try to preserve life, or somewhere in between? That's what we keep talking about on this podcast, and they keep talking about on the show. But then I started thinking about it. Well, how would we get past it? Like, what if they made a decision? All right, we're going to not kill needlessly. Well, then it's going to be inevitable that some situation will come up where it's debatable whether there was a need to kill. And then if they decide, all right, we're just going to kill whenever there's anything that looks like a threat, well, I guess that would be one way to end it. But I don't know if I wouldn't like that, for one thing. It would be really dark and depressing.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm glad that there are characters like Morgan expressing the how did he put it? It's a circle, everything gets a return. And he's all about second chances. And
he brought up that he saved that wolf.
Yes.
And the wolf saved Denise, and Denise saved Carl.
But if he hadn't saved the wolf, Denise would never been in peril in the first place.
Oh, that's true, huh? Wow, I didn't even think about that one.
Well, Rick could have come back with that.
I know, because when Morgan was saying that he let that wolf live and he wasn't getting to his point quickly enough, the look on Rick's face was like, "I'm going to kill you right now." That's what I thought. And then as soon as it came around to Carl was saved, that's when Rick was like, "Oh wow, that's deep, dude."
But later on, he's going to think about it, and he's going to be like, what, Morgan?
Well, what I was going to say, too, is, on the other side of that coin is if Daryl had killed Dwight, then Denise may not have died. So sometimes killing somebody saves somebody else. Sometimes saving somebody that you think is a bad guy saves somebody else. Although, as you pointed out, maybe not actually in this case.
I think it's really funny that killing Karen and David was brought up yet again. We have never gotten away from killing Karen and David.
I actually kind of thought, like that was another instance of really explicitly facing this thing that's been on the show, but maybe it was just explicit with Rick, but in some way I actually felt good about hearing Rick address it so directly. And I thought it was dumb what he said. He said Carol was right to kill them. They were sick, spreading a disease. They weren't going to make it. There were lots of people who were sick. Glenn was sick, Sasha.
Yes.
Lizzie. Yes. Well, maybe Lizzie would have been okay to let go, but in
retrospect,
there were a lot of people who were sick, and one person who wasn't sick was Carol. But if you go and expose yourself to them, that's a good way to get sick. And they were quarantined, so they were just laying there. I mean, the worst thing that could have happened is they could have turned into zombies, but there were plenty of other zombies around. Walkers, sorry. And so I just think Rick is crazy. But
now he's all for it. He's like, if it happened today, I would have supported it. Thanks.
It's crazy. But I enjoy. I know that's how he is now. So I'm not saying he shouldn't be that. We got a letter from a listener who is, or maybe it was on Twitter, saying, I shouldn't diss the show just because some characters have different beliefs or philosophies than I do. And I think I am guilty of that sometimes. But just because I express like, oh, I don't like the way that character thinks, it doesn't mean I'm not glad that they're on the show. Like I think I've said many times, I really enjoyed watching Rick go down this road, even though I don't agree with him.
Big dark road.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Morgan said Carol came back and saved everyone after she got banished. And then he said, people can come back, Rick, which is a callback to that episode Clear, when Rick was trying to tell Morgan he could come back because he was kind of out of his mind because of all the people he'd killed. And that's another theme that's come back, keeps coming back, is whether you can come back from the things that you've done.
That does keep coming back.
Mm-hmm. So,
help.
But, one thing I know, Rick's kind of all over the place with deciding on who to kill, I think, because with that whole episode with Jesus slammed into him. He had a bank robber's mask on. He stole their food. He fought them. And Rick was still trying to ask him how many walkers he killed and, get him into the group. And then this episode, he sees some